impacting their mental well-being, increasing the risk of depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. It can also affect academic performance at schools as well. The first thing to understand is the amount of sleep teens need is 8 to 10 hours. 8 is the minimum recommended amount. We look at our teens and often they look like adults, but they are not. They do need more sleep. So through this webinar, we aim to discuss about what can sleep deprivation do to a teenager, common sleep problems for teens, and teen sleep and brain science. So to throw some more light on this topic, on the panel today, we have Dr. T.S. Sathi Narayan Rao and Miss Anu Gehlot. So let's start with having an introduction first. So Dr. T.S. Sathi Narayan Rao, Professor, Department of Psychiatry, JSS Medical College, JSS Ahmed Mysore, past General Secretary, Indian Psychiatric Society Editor, Journal of Psychosexual Health, formerly President, Indian Association for Geriatric Mental Health, former editor at Indian Journal of Psychiatry 2004-2007 to 18, co-chairperson, Psychiatry and Human Sexuality Section, WPA, editor, chairman, publications, SASSM affiliated to ISSM publications, research and review papers have been done by him for about 33 books and book chapters 26. Awards and orientations include Marfatia and D. L.N. Murthy Rao, 16, also president of Karnataka Sexual Sciences Academy. Now, let's move to our second panelist, Ms. Anu Gehlot, clinical psychologist, present appointment, practicing in clinical psychologist in Delhi at MindCure Clinic, currently affiliated with Delhi Commission for Protection of Child Rights as consultant clinical psychologist. Education and experience, she's a BA Psychology Honors from Lady Shri Ram College for Women, MA from Delhi University, MPhil in Clinic Psychology from IHBAS, has been part of two helplines, Prayatna and IMA, Indian Medical Association, D4D helpline for healthcare workers working during COVID. So thank you so much to all our panelists for taking the time to join us the webinar. So few instructions before we go further. Firstly, we will have a round of discussion with our panelists, following with a Q&A round. And then we request audience to drop in their questions in the Q&A box. We will be taking up all live questions. And the best, sharpest question of the day wins a gift voucher worth rupees 500. And additionally, we request the audience to not please fill the chat box with unnecessary messages, as we tend to miss out the important questions. So before we go into the depth of the topic, let's first understand the idea of sleep deprivation from the professionals. I would request Dr. Rao to please start with your views over this.
At the outset, let me thank the organizers for this wonderful opportunity what you have provided. That way we can reach a lot of people, and my earlier experience was also a very pleasant one. And when this invitation to talk about sleep and related areas came up, straight away I had to agree for that. Of course, sleep is like any of our regular activities. We are talking about maybe eating, drinking, and so many things. So sleep is also part and parcel of our life. And as a psychiatrist, if I am going to talk to you, this may be one of the most common problem what we encounter in our clinical practice. In fact, we always say the headache and sleep, these are the two extremely important common problems in any doctor's clinic for that matter. And for psychologists, psychiatrists, I don't think anything else I can attribute. Of course, when you are trying to talk about sleep, people have a lot of myths and misconceptions related to this. And each one looks at it from their own perspective. Say, for example, maybe if you ask parents, they talk about it in many different ways. Even the child may be sleeping for 6 hours. They think that he's sleeping too much of time because he won't become IAS officer with that amount of sleep. maybe the teachers feel he's drowsy or not showing attention, and maybe not slept well and all of that. Our young people have their own priorities, and in fact, the way that the world has progressed, each one of them will have their own priorities. And young people, when we are trying to talk about, they have very specific priorities, which many of the times operate during evening hours or night. Unfortunately, fortunately, this is maybe one of the major culprit. And since the time of arrival of COVID-19 and all of that, maybe in the coming days, this may be one of the major epidemic or pandemic, whatever way you put it. It may not be infective, but for all practical purposes, it is acting like a virus. And every parent, every relative whom we have come across, they have some complaint or other related to either their children or their wards. Of course, I can go on. I think I stop at that level.
All right, sir. Now let's ask from Miss Gehlot. Please, we welcome your views.
Yes, first of all, thank you for providing us with this platform, because like sir rightly highlighted that it can help us impact a lot of people. Sleep is a very integral part of our life. It's a restorative process. It impacts our biological functioning, our psychological functioning, and our social functioning in has a ripple effect on all three areas of our life. Sleep deprivation typically means that you haven't been sleeping enough, or the quality of sleep that you're getting is not adequate. And it can lead to a lot of problems that we usually do not understand. On the surface of it, it looks like you're not sleeping enough, but then it is very important to address the underlying factors that may be causing that, because your functionality in all those spheres, your productivity, even productivity during examinations for students, since we're focusing on teenagers, the consolidation of memory is happening in sleep, but enough emphasis is not given to that whole cycle, which is so important in you being productive. Your mood is impacted, the level of concentration, focus that you can actually, put towards the tasks that are important. Everything is impacted by sleep. So if this is not addressed enough, and we do not understand how it is having that impact in every area of life, it's the upcoming endemic and pandemic. It's already here, and especially with pandemic and lockdown these past 2.5 years, everybody has gone through so many upheavals, and especially this confinement at home. This confinement at one place for too long has screen time, social media, confinement at home, stress, everything is predisposed all of us to hamper with that body clock without realizing, because that's become our way of coping too. So it's high time we address the impact that sleep deprivation can cause, especially with regard to students and adults, and talk about solution oriented practices that can help us reset that cycle.
Wonderful. All right. So a very important question comes up here is, what causes sleep deprivation?
For me?
Yeah, I will take further with Miss Anu as well.
What causes the sleep problem?
What causes sleep deprivation? Yes.
The point is, in fact, sleep is one aspect we all enjoy, and it is part and parcel of the life. That's what I had mentioned earlier. And we don't realize a problem with sleep till we don't get sleep. That's the time we realize that there is something problem. There are two types of issues we need to keep it in mind, and more particularly when you are trying to talk about adolescent group, issues may be something totally different from an old man trying to find some sleep but finding it difficult, and he wants some help in that regard. So when we are coming to young people, one idea is we should have a proper idea about what is sleep, how much is necessary, and how the things keep going properly. If it is met too, we can sleep less and don't waste time, and you can make use of in a very big way. In fact, every minute important, and we should not let it go, and we should enjoy it or make use of it, or maybe this is what actually others are doing. Like that way, there are multiple aspects get into the picture. See, when we try to talk about sleep, one or two important points, how much is necessary, what is necessary. See, when we try to talk about adults, the issues will be a little different. We say 8 hours plus minus 2 hours. But my own personal example, I can tell you, I hardly sleep beyond 5 to 6 hours. But there may be quite a few other people who may be sleeping for 8 to 10 hours, but still not finding what we basically call that inverted comma satisfaction. Many adults whom we get, a wife come and says that I am not getting sleep. But husband says, no, sir, she is sleeping so well. And in fact, we find it so difficult to wake her up.
Definitely, sir.
So these are all extremely common things with the grown-up people, and more particularly the elderly. The reason is that that required satisfaction, which is necessary, is actually missing. So to understand what is actually that satisfaction and what is this actually, sleep means it is not something like it comes and goes. Though it's a flexible process, one can be woken up, and this is the time our body recuperates. This is what actually the other panelist was telling. So these are all extremely important components. You imagine our body is like a machine, and constantly, continuously, we are running the machine. It will go into wear and tear quite badly, quite fast, and in a very big way. So some amount of rest is necessary. And this is one of the reasons that people have come out with, say, somebody has to work for 8 hours. There may be some of the countries where 6 hours, 5 hours, now 4 hours per day it has come in some countries.
Right.
So people are working out for various things, for various reasons. In fact, it may be some political reason too, economic too, social too, lot many aspects get into the picture. So to make the people aware, very briefly, I'll just tell you that there are phases. Something we hit the bed, we get the sleep, that we call it as sleep latency. And from there onwards, we start with NREM stage. This is called as, wherein it's a quiet sleep and all, maybe stage 1 and stage 2, wherein we get certain types of waves, patterns and all of that, but somehow the individual gets into sleep. 3 and 4 earlier classification are now 3, what we will be talking about. It's called a slow wave sleep, or this is one of the very recuperative important sleep. And then we have at the end of 90 minutes, another phase, what is called as very active sleep, or maybe paradoxical and different form of sleep, which is called as REM sleep. And when you are trying to talk about dreams and a lot many things, they're all related to this REM sleep. It is emotion charged, vivid, clear cut, and colorful. In fact, these are all a few of the terminologies people have used. And why I'm emphasizing this point is, young people are having very colorful life, and this is extremely important. In fact, there are people who come and tell us, I'm getting a lot of dreams, but I'm not getting sleep. In fact, he's getting dreams means he's sleeping well. It is another wrong way of putting it, actually. Like. So this NREM stage 1 and 2 is also important. NREM 3 and 4, what we are talking about, is extremely important, because that's where our brain is maintained properly, body systems are maintained properly. It is actually relaxing and keeps the body running properly for the next day whole show. So these are all very important. We talk about people talking in the sleep. We talk about people walking off, doing some activities during sleep. And these are all called as insomnias, and these are all related to this stage 4 or stage 3 NREM sleep. This is also called as slow wave sleep, and that's the time we get a lot of. And in adolescents, this is extremely common. Till about 4 years, we don't even bother at all about it. Beyond 5 years, something is persisting, frequent, and problematic. In fact, that definitely need to be attended. So when we are trying to talk about sleep, we should have some basic common idea. Why this deprivation is happening nowadays is mainly because, see, for example, a time was there when students were never allowed to carry mobiles to the classroom, or don't keep it with you like that. But now mobile is sleeping with them continuously, constantly. It is actually something like having a big TV in front of you, and that's what actually. And there are a lot of colorful things are happening. So you can see the lot of activities, videos, colorful things, dance, music. So 100 other such things are happening. For any young people, this is very attractive and which keeps engaged. This is what has precisely happened with the adults, and this has applied, referred to even children also. Many of the people earlier, there was no TV at all. To Doordarshan came to, in fact, there are about hundreds of channels. Every father, mother sitting and watching and telling the child to go back, sit in the room and read and all. It's not going to work that particular way. So there are multiple reasons have come, and the technology in the hand, it keeps you engaged. See, any multimodal system of stimulation will not let you go off so easy. One may drink, one may smoke, one may use opium, and another one person may use mobile internet. So these are all as addicting as anything else for that matter. So one should keep it in mind. So there are multiple, starting from immediate family, the environment, to the extreme form of reasonings are possible. I think we'll look into those things.
Wonderfully explained, sir. Okay, so coming to Ms. Gehlot, a question for you. So I am taking these questions, which we have majorly received at the time of registration from the audience directly. So I am addressing these questions to the panelists. Okay, so Ms. Gehlot, what are some of the warning signs of sleep deprivation?
Some of the warning signs of sleep deprivation.
Yes.
So basically, when we talk about sleep deprivation, there are two aspects that we look into. The quantity of sleep, which, like Sir said, that it could be a bit subjective. Different individuals could require different amounts of sleep. So quantity of sleep and quality of sleep. We often do not address the latter. Quantities of sleep would mean that if a person typically sleeps for about 7 hours or 8 hours and feels fresh after waking up and is not able to sleep for those many hours despite of trying, despite of having conducive environmental cues, but at the same time the individual is not able to fall asleep for those many hours consistently, for say about 2 weeks or a month. Quality of sleep refers to how you feel after you wake up. During the sleep, how was the sleep, how did you feel throughout the night? When you wake up, do you feel refreshed? Do you feel rejuvenated? Do you feel like that sense of productivity, energy, motivation is optimal? So when we talk about sleep deprivation, we tend to evaluate these two parameters to say that a person is sleep deprived. Also, these days a very commonly used term, especially by teenagers, because there's so much of information on social media, is insomnia. I'm suffering from insomnia, I'm an insomniac. But what we often do not realize is that the sleep cycle is disturbed, and not particularly insomnia. Phone usage, screen usage. Also, I think that this use of phone before falling asleep, and these gadgets, iPads, laptops, and phones, it's become a way of coping for a lot of young people, adults, teenagers, children too. Because this sense of scrolling or watching something on the screen, it's so numbing that a lot of us just aimlessly scroll because we don't feel tired. We don't feel like we want to sleep. So there's this thing called revenge bedtime procrastination, wherein even if you're feeling fatigued, that you want to fall asleep, but then mentally you're just delaying that delaying
Right.
that bedtime. Like, because say for example you're watching a nice stimulating show, so you would want to watch another episode of it, so you would delay sleeping, and then you would want to watch another episode, and you do not realize, because your mind rationalizes, it wants pleasure, so it rationalizes that it's okay, I can sleep an extra hour tomorrow, or I can come back from college, sleep an extra hour in the afternoon, without us realizing that we're hampering the circadian cycle of our body. So, social media, usage of phone, gadgets before sleeping, screen time, our eyes may feel tired. We may physically feel like we're fatigued. But what happens is that The moment you keep the screen away, you feel tired, you feel sleepy, but then your brain is stimulated. Even if you fall asleep, just that sense of subconscious alertness increases because you're stimulating yourself using that gadget. It's emitting light, it's stimulating you through audio and through visual. Apart from screen time, I think daily life stressors, prevalence of anxiety, depressive symptoms, overthinking, uncertainty, life events like the pandemic, uncertainty, other major life events, they could also be very strong precursors to hampering that sleep. So, what causes sleep deprivation could be numerous factors, and that's why it is important to individually assess those factors. But when we say that there's sleep deprivation, we tend to look at these two aspects, which is the quantity of sleep and quality of sleep.
Right. Dr. Rao, would you like to add something on this?
See, there are, I think Dr. Sanu brought out very clearly the issues involved, because world is changing and technology has played havoc with already the particular generation. See, for example, when we have to study, we always say you have to focus, show attention, properly concentrate, and a quiet room like that. Usually, you might have noticed a lot of young people put the radio on and listen to the music, and a sad music or maybe a romantic music that can disturb your mind to a great extent. You imagine when you are trying to watch something on the mobile or something on the TV, here almost majority of our brain structures which are necessary for working, they are all active. See, there is the audio, there is a video, and there is a story, and there is an emotion. That means our brain is not made for handling all these type of things simultaneously. So you cannot read and watch TV. You cannot watch TV and simultaneously read. So these two things cannot go hand in hand. That is one aspect of it. The second one, among the young people, what happens is they see, for example, if you are keeping the mobile by the side of you, a message came, one of a close friend messaged, and another close friend linked. Automatically, your mind gets distracted by those things because they carry. See, any limbic system activity, either it is very pleasurable or it is a very strong one. This is one of the reasons why, say, for example, when we are trying to talk about sleep or going for an exam or doing something else, all these activities are new brain activities. When we are stimulating the limbic system, that means all these movies, emotion, romance, various other such things, that can disrupt our new brain activities very significantly. Electrophysiologically speaking, these are all very strong ones, and that can interfere. So this is one of the aspects very, very well known. But more than anything else, the relatives and others also, they expect the children not to sleep. See, physiologically speaking, we are all different. Each one is quite unique, highly individualized person, anybody for that matter. There are some people who can sleep early and who can get up early and do a lot of work. There are some people who can sleep very late, get up a little late, and they can do. Some people need less amount of sleep. Some people need more amount of sleep. But of course, there is something average necessary. But beyond that, there is a whole range of things are there. And when we are trying to talk about sleep deprivation, I can tell you one, this example I have given at many places also. One of my distant relative, this particular girl somewhere studying around 9th standard, was brought telling that she is not doing well and she is falling unconscious episodes, things like that. And their timetable, I'll tell you. In fact, mother wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock, she will teach you. Then she will go for preparing breakfast. By the time father has woken up, 6 to 7, he will teach her. Then 7 to 8, she is sent for tuition in the same road. She comes back around 8:20, 9 o'clock, she has to get ready and she has to go to the college. From 4:30, again, mother starts teaching. By the time father comes, he starts teaching. And then again, she is sent for tuition. And then half an hour, they will allow her for to watch TV and eat food, both together. Then I was asking her when she will play. Mother was telling, Sir, she is very naughty. While coming from the school to the house, she will play on the way itself. Now, can you imagine this particular child needs certain amount of sleep? Many of the time, adolescent problem is not only their own problem, but it is the problem of the relatives, teachers, and others concerned. See, there are many primary school, middle schools, and all where such an amount of homework is given. In addition to the tuition and such other things, what they fix it up, our brain is not made for this type of activities at all. You like it or you don't like that, sleep deprivation is happening. Their study is getting affected. They are not able to concentrate. They feel drowsy. They feel multiple somatic complaints, like maybe aches, pains, headache, and so many other such things are extremely common. Feeling sad, feeling incapable, unable to remember things. These are all for the extremely common complaints of people. What they make. So there are medical symptoms, there are physical symptoms, there are emotional symptoms, there are what we call psychological symptoms. One can narrate plenty.
Thank you so much. Okay, so meanwhile of these questions, I would like to take one live questions coming from Raghuram Maladi. Please unmute yourself, Raghuram, and ask your question, please. Raghuram, am I audible to you? Please unmute yourself. All right. So let me read this question out. So can the experts kindly throw some light on how techniques like pranayam, meditation, and exposing oneself to mantra vibrations can help deal with sleep deprivation related issues? Dr. Rao, would you like to answer this?
See, the issue here is we are living in a very turbulent world, and the pressure of so many things. That's what actually Anu was mentioning. That keeps us engaged, and we want to make best use of all that is possible. We want to do many things in that given particular time. When you try to talk about meditation, yoga, or maybe Tai Chi or Vipassana, any method for that matter, just simple maybe relaxation, any relaxation method, what we are doing is actually calming our body and mind. Anything which is done to calm body and mind is good enough actually to help the individuals. And this is one of the reasons why people say, see, for example, yesterday night I was traveling in Indigo flight. Before that cockpit pilot enters, there is a board there. Leave all your problems at this particular gate like that. I thought, in fact, very aptly applies to this particular program also. When we go to the bed, keep ourselves totally free from. This is one of the reasons why I don't take mobile, don't take TV, don't take a lot of your stress to the bedroom. It creates a lot of difficulty. So if somebody can practice, whether you are talking about Gayatri Mantra, meditation, and maybe the yoga, it is beneficial. I was editor of Indian Journal of Psychiatry, and we have published a whole supplement on what we basically call the yoga techniques and how it helps actually. And among them, mental balance, memory related functions, sleep, these are all very well documented, very well proven technologies, methods, which has helped actually. So now there is evidence available, very scientific evidence available to say that these are all beneficial. So it is all the question of how you practice, how long you practice, and how much emphasis you make for that. Whichever is suitable for you, absolutely fine. I am not for any particular school or particular methodology. Anything which can relax you, anything which can bring your turbulence in the mind, anything which can keep you happy, should be able to help you in a big way as far as getting good sleep is concerned.
I would also like to add to this that, as adults, so there's this concept called neuroplasticity, wherein your neurons are adapting to new learning and learning processes. So learning can happen in your active hours, say a child going to tuition or watching something or observation, or even as adults, we can learn in active hours. But what a lot of us do not realize is that the consolidation of learning is happening in those relaxed states and sleep. So nothing can substitute sleep, But say meditation or anything like Sir said that helps you relax, that helps you feel calm. So these states are called non-sleep deep relaxation states. So even in these ND RS, non-sleep relaxation states, you are actually consolidating a lot that you're exposed to, a lot that you're learning, a lot that you're observing. So the example that Sir gave, a child, running around throughout the day, parents, without even realizing that if they do not let the child sleep adequately, and if the child is sleep deprived, the child may have memory difficulties because you didn't give child the time to recuperate, to consolidate and refresh that system. So when we talk about consolidation of what's happening around us, observing, learning, like they rightly say ki exam se pehle you should always sleep. Even if you're sleeping for 4 hours, 3 hours, it's okay, but always sleep before an exam because it helps you recall information better. So pranayam, deep meditation, mindfulness meditation, and whatever works for you, whatever helps you relax, whatever that is, those states are equally important. Nothing can substitute sleep again. Sleep with those states, these two states are equally important for you to be able to consolidate all that you're exposed to, all that you're learning. So these things, they definitely help along with good quality of sleep.
But one of the statement made is sleep over the matter. Like that way,
Yes.
we remember better.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, amazing. Okay, so another question is coming up from Dr. Pooja Bhatt. Please unmute yourself, Pooja. Pooja, am I audible to you?
Hello.
Hi, Pooja. Where are you speaking from?
So, I'm from New Delhi.
All right, please ask your question.
Okay. So my question is basically about sleep deprivation, which is situation, and I think it is unavoidable. For example, if a student is in 12th standard, right, and he has to go to his schools, then after that the tuitions, and then a self-studying is also a part of it, right? So suppose he comes back to his home at suppose 2 or 3 from school, then he goes to the tuition at 4 and comes back at suppose 8, and then lunch and stuff, and then he sits for self-studying, and it will almost take him 3 to 4 hours to read all that what has been taught in school and tuition, and finally he sleeps at 1 or 2, and again he has to wake up the next morning at 6 to go to school. So how can he deal with this situation? Actually, he has a sleep pattern which is normal, but this is something situational. He's not able to cope up with this. So how can he help himself out in this case?
Will I answer, Anu?
Yes,
Okay.
I just have some thoughts about it.
Dr. Pooja Bhatt,
Yeah.
nowhere it is written that you should go through school for 8 hours, then another about 4 hours tuition, and then
Sir, see, schools are usually from 9 to
9 to
if 9 to 2 p.m.
into
So
2
if a
p.m.
student is living,
4
suppose if a
p.m.
student is living in Delhi, so
Hmm.
it will take him almost 1 hour in traveling, which is normal here, which is very normal here. And he would at least have tuitions for 3 subjects. If he is taking science as a stream, then obviously he'll take tuition for physics, chemistry, and biology. And if he is taking both, then maths also. And 1 hour tuition is obviously normal. So 4 hours for that.
See, for this, we need to make people very clear, and I'm extremely happy that this particular question has come up. See, what we are trying to talk here is, these are all absolute necessities. Children are superhuman. They don't have to sleep, and all the 24 hours they can make use of. Everybody should become a doctor, engineer, IAS officer, and things like that. See, these are all totally wrong ideas. And even with all this type of pressure, some of our students are doing well. Kudos to them. In fact, congratulations to them, because somehow they are going through this and they are coming out of it. For our brain, it is not. See, for example, you compare it to one of the computer only. A computer has some particular limits, this particular amount of storage capacity. Only that amount of things can be stored. Your overloading means at the end of it may be about 250 capacity. Around 200, it starts giving trouble. Cross links, so many other such things are happening. And then subsequently it actually comes. So it is not necessary that, in fact, we have an idea that they should attend school, they should go to the tuition. If they attend to the tuition, only then they will score very well marks. And there is a competition and everybody has to score very well. And everybody has to score 100 out of 100. And from that particular angle, tuition is only going to add. These are all absolutely, totally wrong ideas. Right? What we are seeing, the severe form of depression, high degree of anxiety, whole range of personality and other related problems, suicide, to drug usage, to lot many other things, dropping out from studies. These are all very, very real problems, and we are not looking into those things at all. We are taking an example that the child should get up in very early morning, 6 o'clock. It is not, see, if somebody is sleeping at 1 o'clock in the night, 2 o'clock in the night, 6 o'clock is not the time to get up at all. You sleep at 10 o'clock and you get up at 6 o'clock, that's fine. So what we need to do is actually make the child understand, make the parents understand, make the school understand. We have literally failed in making them understand. See, this is a different issue altogether. I might have spoken to 100 parents, only about maybe 5 listen to our advice. That is more than high success rate. So schools have timetables so much that including what children used to go for tuition, and now apart from school regular teaching, morning itself, the tuition by the schools themselves actually have started. Many such things. We are assuming that the child is attending school classes and then he is attending tuition. If the child is attending either the tuition or to the school, he is not able to concentrate, he is not able to understand, he is wasting time, he is disturbing others, and he is scoring badly in the school, not because of anything. He believes that only that last exam is important. So many such things are there, one has to keep it in mind. We have a body and it has some particular way it can work, and we have to understand its limitations. If we do that, if parents can understand that and the school managements can understand that, I think a lot of things can happen.
I would like to add to this that, it's the larger picture and the conditioning that comes with performance. Especially when a child is in 12th standard or 10th standard, that whole hullabaloo around, I'm in 12th, my child has boards this year, boards. That whole pressure of managing one's image through children and children themselves, because there's so much pressure. Since the time you enter class 8th, people start talking about 10th aane wala hai, 12th aane wala hai. And this toxic cycle of spending 8 hours in school and then taking an hour to reach back home, and then just eating, just not even eating mindfully. And I know a lot of clients of mine, and I know a lot of children who come back from school and just literally have to stuff food because, they have to get to their tuition by 4 o'clock. And by the time they finish their tuitions, they come back home, they don't even get 20 minutes to feel fresh, and then they have to stuff dinner and go back to studying. What we are not realizing is that we are precipitating a big problem here. And all of us are so biased in being able to understand that the examples of excellence that we see in news and social media and coaching centers putting up those hoardings about students scoring 97, 98, those are a few examples, but there are a lot of students who suffer when they churn through this whole process. And they lose so much. We cannot see all of that. It's all intangible. So it's important to prioritize and understand that if a child loses his or her physical health, all this churning process is not worth it. It's not worth it. And what happens is that despite of going through this process the whole year, if the child is unable to perform, rightly so, because so much is happening, every child is not able to cope up with it. They're very resilient, no doubt about that. But if they're not getting enough sleep, anxiety, not feeling fine, constantly thinking about performance, self-criticism, when they're unable to perform well despite of going through this whole process for the whole year, then they're burdened with shame because they didn't do well enough. and especially the cutoff system in Delhi University and other universities, that again is a blotch, because you feel, oh my God, 99 is the cutoff. My child has only got 91. I have seen so many clients who come to me and tell them, ki, my daughter only scored 92. Now she cannot get through DU. What we do not realize is that despite of child really doing well, you are putting that child under so much pressure, because now she's feeling shameful for scoring 92. So, it's actually very little to do with just sleep deprivation. It's a gamut of problems that we need to understand. And it's a rat race. And for parents putting their child through it, I know there is a lot of pressure, but sleep, physical health, mental health, brain, mind, body, these three things are pivotal. Nothing comes before all of this. So I think it's time to question this running, this pressure, self-image. And children carry this kind of feedback throughout. Even when they go to college and they feel that the college isn't nice enough, or I didn't score well enough, they carry that sense of self-worth through and through without realizing that it's going to have a ripple effect on all their performances to come.
When you are talking about sleep physiology and pathology, there is a particular concept called as sleep debt. DEP. See, if you need your body needs about, say, 6 hours of sleep. Today you slept only for 5 hours. That means you are carrying a debt of somewhere around 1 hour. Maybe at the end of 1 week, you are carrying the debt of somewhere around 7 hours. So you like it or you don't like it, body actually, in fact, this is one of the reasons why, say, for example, the drivers, you go to some of the European countries, they put some meters and monitors. He cannot drive beyond some particular, a pilot cannot go on for a job beyond some particular hours which have been prescribed. But for children, we don't ever bring into this particular concept at all. This is as good and as sharp an activity as anything else for that matter. But somehow we believe that they are capable of doing and they are doing it. It is not going to work that particular way.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Wonderfully explained. And I think most of the parents and students can relate to the problem they are having and facing in day-to-day lives. Okay. So the next question comes from Yasmin. Please unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Hello.
Hello, Yasmin. Please tell us where you're speaking from.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm from J&K State, ma'am, Kashmir.
Okay. Please go ahead with your question.
Ma'am, what is the total recommended hours of sleep for an adult, average adult?
Dr. Rao?
What was the question?
What is the average hour of sleep for adults?
See, this particular point was mentioned in the beginning in a different context altogether. It is 8 hours plus minus 2 hours. What it means is, we take it for granted there are some people who are extra sleepers and there are some people who are light sleepers. So these are the two categories.
Sir, it depends now also, because some needs 8 hours, some needs 6 hours. Na? It depends upon the individual also.
Yes. So every individual is quite unique and they have their own pattern of sleeping and absolutely well taken. Many of the time what happens, our body has its own mechanisms. Say, for example, you have slept for 4 hours. Yes. Whether you like it or not, you don't like it. While watching TV, you sleep off. While open the book, you are drowsy. You are listening to a class, already your brain, you like it or don't like it, it's actually sleeping. In fact, many people, if you are a teacher or some teachers are very well aware of, half of the class would be almost, they are not listening to what you are telling. They are sleeping to at different levels of phases of sleep they have gone. So this is the average. But there are some people who have sleep for about 4 hours and they are absolutely comfortable.
Yes, sir, exactly.
More than 10 hours of sleep, still they complain total difficulty with the sleep. Both the combinations are possible.
Thank you so much, Yasmin. Thank you so much, sir. Also, one question pops up in my mind talking about sleep. Is oversleeping a matter of concern?
See, then you undersleep, as much problem it produces, you oversleep also, as much problems are produced. It is not advantageous that you sleep. Oversleep means a lot of good things are happening, because we need to be active, we need to be energetic, and we need to do certain activities and all of that. By oversleeping, what happens is actually, in fact, these are the people, see in our system, there are two types of autonomic nervous system, we call it. There is something called as simple. Say, for example, you imagine there is a car. There are two things necessary. It has to go. So to move it forward faster and whatever you call it, you have put something called accelerator. Our sympathetic system is like an accelerator. But car can go very fast only if brakes are all right. See, which is the thing which keeps the car faster is brake, not the accelerator alone. So this parasympathetic system, we call it, is actually a cooling system. So God has designed such a way that whatever we want to do and however we want to do, that is balanced out. In fact, what we basically call that stability and equanimity, everything is actually maintained because of this particular. When we talk about people sleeping more, whether they are doing means, say for example, if a car can go average around 40 to 60 kilometers, you are going by about 10 kilometers, it has its own disadvantages. You put on weight and your metabolism is slow, and a whole range of other disorders also well documented among these individuals.
Right, sir. Okay. So let's move to the next question from Krishnamurti. Please unmute yourself and followed by the questions I want to ask. Am I audible to you, Krishna?
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah.
Okay.
Am I audible?
Yes. Please tell us where you're speaking from and then followed by the question.
Yeah, I'm speaking from Hyderabad. A part of my question was asked earlier by the lady from Delhi, but still I'll continue with my question.
All right.
I am interacting with BArc students. And I find that these are students in BArc. They're all first year, second year, third year, fourth year kind. Now, professional degrees, engineering also. The course and the syllabus and the academic schedule is so stressful, it is so punishing that they have a lot of problem just keeping up with the schedules and these assignment systems, etc. So pulling late-nighters, pulling all-nighters is a common thing. It is the same with law also. For example, my son studied in Nalsar. It is the same thing there. Now, that is a reality. While, yes, is it so important more than health, etc.? It's all nice to talk and nice to say, but that's a reality. Being seized with that reality, are there any tips, are there any suggestions that we as adults, elders can pass to the younger generation? How to adapt, how to adopt, what to adopt to manage this kind of a scenario, which they can't really escape from. However much they might want an ideal world where all the problems are not there, but that's the reality. So is there any solutions? Is there any kind of a suggestions by the two panelists? I appreciate their interest and the stance that they had taken till now. But is there any words of wisdom, words of advice, how to go about managing time, managing this issue?
I'll request Anu to start off and then I'll come back.
Sir, like you rightly highlighted that, it's the demand that the kind of degree that one pursues, it's inevitable to escape that kind of pressure. That's completely understandable, and pulling all-nighters or extending hours to perform and work, understood, But in a pattern form, continuously at the cost of one's body, it may sound ideal, but it really is not. Work-life balance, we talk about life balance, we talk about academic and life balance, and that work-life balance is a bit of a myth. Like I said, this whole ideal perspective of you should be able to do this, balance your life and that work. Completely understood. And sometimes there are certain things that take a front street. For example, a person pursuing engineering is under that pressure to perform, deliver, present, commit to the assignments, deadlines, and whatnot. So I'm sure that at that time, work takes a front seat. But recuperation of that system is equally important. I understand that people are yielding under that pressure, but the repercussions are very intangible, the ones that we aren't able to see. So, given that the pressure will persist, it's inevitable, and one has to probably go through that channel to be able to reach a certain point, which is a certain degree, college, education, all of that. As elders and as family members, to begin with, we can provide a positive environment, wherein comparison, shaming, constantly being reminded of this is what you have to do, these are the goals that one needs to pursue, or just that sense of comparison with those standards. We need to evaluate our own standards of performance so that we can ease the child going through that phase. Some of the practices that as adults we can follow and probably also advise younger generation could be having some time out for oneself and not glamorize that sense of productivity that we usually do, or set those examples wherein a lot of adults tend to put in those examples and say that at our time we could do this, people are able to balance that. So instead of setting that unrealistic image, sometimes it's okay to just sit with the child and address if they're distressed by the whole cycle of just running in that rat race. So maybe setting realistic standards for your children, sometimes sitting and providing them with a conducive environment and asking whether they are stressed, how they are reeling under it. If they're taking a break, letting them have that chance to recuperate. Uh, you know, talking about self-care in the sense wherein they are able to take rejuvenate, not compare them with idealistic standards of performance, encouraging them to engage in physical activity, physical activity not particularly per se for fitness but for mental health, and being able to accommodate with that, with the cycle that the cycle that works for them. Because some children have certain productivity pockets during the daytime, some children find those productivity pockets at night. So family environment being conducive and accommodative of their productivity cycle, these could be a few things that we can do to help children reel through that pressure. That being said, the pressure is real and inevitable, so one has to cope through that. But just maybe having a dialogue about mental health, validating their emotions. If they're expressing that they're stressed, then just holding that space for them so that they're able to express their emotions and not invalidate them by telling them that this is how it is, everybody's doing it, we have done it back in the day, it is normal, you have to balance different areas of life. Instead of maybe setting those standards, validating how they are feeling, asking how they would want their help, having an open dialogue about how we can be helpful to them. And maybe just that dialogue about mental health can help them at least channelize and unburden their emotional stress, whatever there is, to begin with.
Right. Thank you so much. Sir, would you like to add something?
The point what Dr. Krishnamurthy is raising is very real, and but agreeing to all the points what is being mentioned by Dr. Krishnamurthy, that the system is like that and somehow we need to cope up with that. There we have to strike some balance. I can narrate any number of cases. In fact, very recently I had one girl from Bangalore. She's from a different place, but she has been put in a hostel. Morning 6 o'clock, and one of the things, breakfast half an hour time is there, lunch 30 minutes, wherein that's the time they have to talk to the parents and whatever need to be done in that particular time, half an hour. And evening there is night, there is for the food and going for sleep, there is 30 minutes time is there. That means that what you call relaxed, enjoying food or doing something activity, absolutely, totally lacking. And this child is presenting with headache and some amount of nervousness and lot of these things. See, you imagine this particular child is going to do well in that type of regimental system, unlikely to be. She's doing it so far reasonably well, it is fine. But it is almost not possible to sustain that type of a situation. So today or tomorrow, day later, they are bound to fail or feel miserable, and they go into such an amount of anxiety and depression. It is something immeasurable. So we need to modify the system. But as earlier panelist was mentioning, it is a rat race, and everybody feels that it is going to work. See, many times there are some studies to talk about. There are many people, those who are in their very regimental type of school system compared to a government school where a lot of liberal feeling. In fact, here the child will do much better with the life. See, when stress is poured, this particular child which has been only taught subject and only subject, and he has been not allowed to look into the world from many different angles, a little plus minuses can create havoc in this particular child's life. But another child which has a lot of difficulty going through self-studies and all, like in fact, if you try to look at a lot of big people who have done extremely well, these are the people who have come through. In fact, this is what we call as hardiness. Difficulties to go through, and in fact, it can stand. And to do that, some amount of time is necessary, and they must be allowed to experiment with life. They have to choose their own path and what is better and all of that. Everything spoon feeding either in the tuition or by the parents or by the school, it is not going to work like in life that particular way. There are bound to be problems, and these are the people who will end up with a lot of difficulty either with the partner or with the society in general or with the system in particular. That they are bound to be there. So we have to strike some balance, and because everybody is doing that, everybody's system is talking about it, not necessary one should agree with it.
Absolutely. And I think it's high time we look at holistic development, social skills, emotional intelligence, how you're relating with other people, how you're dealing with actual life circumstances. These are equally important aspects that we are never taught to understand, never taught in school, never taught in colleges, because that academic achievement or that sense of productivity is so intricately woven to our sense of worth that we feel that that's the only thing that we have to, run towards. So that idea of maybe just talking about emotional well-being, social skills, social connections, receptivity, emotional intelligence, those elements of all those things have to be and should be present, even if you're going through a very, stressful academic curriculum. Although I do understand that a student may not get a lot of time to really engage into all of that, but those elements should be in whatever capacity be inculcated in one's routine or repertoire.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you very much. It was quite informative. There's a lot to take away from both the panelists' advice. Seriously, thank you very much. It is really nice. And there's no perfect answer, but you gave what you felt was a very, very rational answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I will be taking the last question for today's Q&A round from Mr. Probir Kumar Roy. Please unmute yourself. Meanwhile, if anybody from the audience has any more questions for the panelists, I request you to please post the questions in the Q&A box, and we will be taking that up. So for now, Probir, please unmute yourself. Probir, am I audible to you? All right, so let me read out his question. Is it true that loss of vitamin D or vitamin B6 in human body are one of the major causes of sleep problems? Is it true?
It is one of the factors now we're talking about, but that doesn't explain everything and anything for that matter. It's maybe one of the components. And this is one of the reasons why, starting from the childhood, to the grown-up people. Go out under the sun, play for a while. In fact, your body can generate enough vitamin D3 because we are covering ourselves and we are inside the rooms and we hardly come out. We are in the AC room and that takes care of your temperature. That's one of the major causes which has led to the vitamin D3 deficiency. This is one of the important nowadays. In fact, there is a lot of work is happening in this area, but not a final word one can say. All these, see, there are, as in the beginning itself, this discussion now, the idea was brought up. Any behavior, any problem cannot have only one cause and effect, that type of a situation. There are multiple reasons. Sleep deprivation is one. In one child may look like a major problem. It may be the parenting issues, may be the other important problem which may be having actually the effect. The school environment may be the other one which may be having effect. So one has to look at holistically all the parameters taken into consideration. D3 is important. And not only for this, one of the word used by other panelists was what we call as emotional intelligence. Scoring marks has not made any individual something extraordinary at all.
Right.
And it is not possible. Say, for example, if somebody is scoring 100 out of 100 in pre-university in one subject. See, this is purely assessing some aspect of this individual only as far as that particular subject is concerned, only that much. But in life, there are 10 different things are there, which this particular 10 out of 100 out of 100 is not going to answer at all. Right. Where child will learn good things is, see, for example, he is going and playing maybe cricket itself. Take an example. See, the child will be taught, he has to wait for his turn to bowl. He has to wait for his turn to bat. He is out means immediately he should not feel upset. He has to go, and that means frustration tolerance. This is one of the major common problem among children nowadays. They don't have anything to feel bad at all about. See, the failure is taken as something extreme. That is the end of the story, that particular way. So these are all social skills, emotional skills, which are extremely important. And I think the message we should carry out of this particular program is there are many aspects related to this. And what I have heard one of the times, even our Prime Minister Modi talking about scoring marks alone is not important. There are a lot of things in life, extremely important. Very scientific comment it is. Absolutely fine. There are many nice things in the life. One should look into all those things.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, so one last question is coming up from Shinasa Shahid. Please unmute yourself and tell us where you're speaking from, and then followed by the question.
Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry. I had joined a little late. I am from Leeds, UK. My question is, how does sleep influence the memory? So we know how sleep affects the memory in a bad way, but I want to understand how does it affect the memory in a good way. So I have this question because I remember a few years ago when I was at the university, my roommate, so she would study for 2 hours and then sleep for 20 minutes. And I tried doing the same. I would study for an hour or two, and I used to sleep for 15 to 20 minutes. And then I realized that it helped me retain the answers that I had just studied. So I tried doing that more and more. I would study again for 1 to 2 hours and again sleep for 15-20 minutes. But I did not understand what is the role of the sleep here?
Shall I speak?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. See, for understand what you are telling is absolutely right, and there is a range of scientific evidence available. To cut short answer, see, in our brain there are multiple structures are there. When you are trying to talk about memory, the first stop for that immediate memory for registration is hippocampus. In our brain, there are two hemispheres, and there is a down there is a temporal lobe, and one of the part of that particular area is actually called hippocampus. For anything to register, this particular part is necessary. What precisely happens? Say, for example, tomorrow I have to go back to the school at 8 o'clock. This is an instruction that has come. If your hippocampus is not there, it will not be registered. Now, once it goes to hippocampus, this memory is stored in the form of protein, in fact, amino acids. In fact, these are called as engrams. In temporal lobe, surrounding areas, for the short-term memory, it will stay there. And from there, it will move to, for the long-term memory, when we are talking in terms of many months, years, and a whole lot of things, it will move to a frontal lobe. There is another lobe which is there in the front of our brain. These are all the terms I think we have, everybody should be aware of and maybe aware of. So when we are trying to talk about memory in a very systematical way, it is laid and stored there. Anything which is repeated, it will stay there for a long time. This is one of the reasons many of the time pleasant things we forget. Something wrong happened and we repeatedly feel bad about it, means we are making those memory engrams stay there for a much longer time and much bigger way and much for a longer time. And to store that memory engrams, rest is necessary. And one of the things people have documented is at the end of 1 hour, maybe at the end of 2 hours, at the end of 3 hours, when you have done a particular topic, you relax for about few minutes. That is the time actually these engrams get stored or retained properly. I think this explains in very simple terms. In fact, technically means we can talk in a very different fashion altogether. But for teachers and public point of view, what I can say is there is a very strong scientific basis, because for memory to stay there and for stay there for a longer time and in a proper way, one of the words which is used, to think on the matter, to relax, sleeping on the matter, is extremely important. And this is having advantages for many things. See, when you are upset about anything, you sleep over the matter for a little while. It will tell you what are the better alternatives. You want to remember certain things, sleep over the matter. In fact, a lot of things will happen. Keeping the book under the head as a pillow, not going to work. But the sleep, what you are taking, or the nap that is you are taking, or relaxing, what you are trying to do, that's one which is actually going to help you in the memory.
Thank you so much. I hope that answers the question. Okay, so here we rest the Q&A round. And thank you to all the panelists today. It was wonderful having you over the panel, and everything was explained so beautifully. I'm sure everybody is taking something valuable home from both of you. Okay, so the sharpest question winner is Krishna Murthy. Congratulations. And somebody from the communication team will contact you shortly and give you the voucher. Thank you, everybody who joined us today. Thanks once again. Immense pleasure for having the panelists, such esteemed panelists over here for this webinar. Okay, so now we have a very small feedback form on your screen. Kindly fill this feedback form. It will take 2 minutes, but it is very valuable for us. I would request to take this up. Also, if any of your question is unanswered, please post your question on your social media handles by using #webinar_by_Sharp, and we will try to take these questions up as soon as possible. In case of certificates, to all the participants will be emailed within 2 working days. Check your spam box if it takes longer. If you like attending our webinar, subscribe for latest updates of our upcoming webinars and more interesting information. Visit our website www.schoolindia.org. Sharp NGO also conducts mental health workshops. Go to our website to register. Words from the panelists. Would you like to say something before the end? Please mute the audio. Yes, sir.
Of course, these are all very burning problems in the society, and trying to talk about young people, parents, teachers. See, each one has their own ideas, and proper guidance is necessary. And the point is, we compare something else and we want to follow. Ultimately, when you are trying to look at your wards or children in particular, it is not necessarily going to work in that particular fashion. That word holistic development, emotional intelligence, and the capability to handle social issues, these are extremely important for anybody. And please do give emphasis on those things. Thank you very much for very well
Thank
conducted.
you so much. It was pleasure having you over the panel, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very
And
much.
Please mute the audio. Miss Gehlot will be. Yeah.
I just wanted to thank the entire team of Sharp. I think you guys are doing a great job because every week I see the posters and all of you talk about very relevant, prevalent issues. So thank you for doing this work to be able to connect professionals with a large audience, an audience that's very receptive. So I really want to appreciate your effort. Kudos to the entire team. Thank you for making this.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful having you. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
Let's end this. Hope to see you again soon over the panel. Thank
Thank
you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye.